Welcome to ClevelandMoto, a vintage motorcycle podcast by people who wrench and ride. We'll be bringing you VinMoto chat each week, so sit back, relax, and crack a beer. Or play us over the speakers in your shop while working on your latest project. ClevelandMoto. Here's your host, Phil Waters.
All right, and welcome to another outstanding adventure hour of the ClevelandMoto podcast.
Outstanding or still standing?
Still standing. We're still standing. It's early in the evening. Or as we like to call it, men talking about bikes. We had just had a very big event here in Cleveland. We had the International Motorcycle Show happened at our Cleveland IX Center. Something along the lines of 43,000 people went through our booth. It feels like they went through our booth twice.
And I think every one of them coughed on me.
Right. They were coughing on us. They were generally massive amounts of hand sanitizer was being passed out. We were all wearing SARS masks. There was a lot of, I'm sorry, sir, can you please step away? Your breath is diabolically bad. So it was a good time. And today in our studio, Dustin, of course, is operating the boards. Everybody introduce yourselves.
Mark McDermott.
Mark McDermott's back.
Chris Smith.
Excellent, Chris.
Ray Marvar.
And Ray Marvar, and your humble narrator, Phil Waters.
And of course me.
Yeah,
Dustin. On the
Dustin.
boards.
Yeah, James couldn't work the podcast tonight because he's got some kind of final or some paper he's got to write for
I thought it
college.
was a yeast infection, but whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
Possible.
So you won't be entertained by his witty repartee. The
Is
motorcycle
that what
show,
it is, really?
It's just a mess.
Yeah.
It's a train wreck.
His mouth, yeah.
The motorcycle show, if you haven't gone, you pay you pay $8 to park. You pay $12 to $16 to walk in the door and get to see the newest motorcycles from all the major manufacturers who decide to pay the atrocious amount of money to be there. You get to see the latest Sons of Anarchy t-shirts. You get to see dream catchers. You get to see the wittiest possible patch selection. You get to look at every way you can turn a large, overweight motorcycle into a trike.
Ducati girls.
You get to see
and the coolest collection of not really bulletproof vests.
That's true. It is a lot of patch vests, or what they would in my old
those faux bulletproof vests.
Yeah, in my old line of work, we used to call those ballistic carriers. And what it is that's a bulletproof vest without the bulletproof part. And then they sew their urban or their fanciful club patches to them to show how hard they are. Because only the chubby old guys wear the leather vests with the chain expansions for the side as they get girthy over time. And they do sell those chain expansions there to make your vest, to turn your vest from a 44 into a 54.
Still be comfortable.
And still be comfortable, right? Because you don't want to have to start a new patch jacket or a new patch vest. You got that one broken in so well. The other interesting thing is that this year there's been a lot more use of booth girls, and booth girls are we just say it's the only time the prostitutes see daylight. It's the only time they work before hours of darkness during the year.
It's the only time the strippers have their actual clothes on,
or clothes provided for them by the manufacturer in most cases.
Which is probably the only reason why they had clothes on.
An old friend of mine used to say, TBFYI, oh, it's too big for your outfit. And there's a lot of flesh hanging out. There's a lot of poor sausage making going on in that show. There's, the 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag walking around just looking horrible. And you feel bad for them. You really just feel terrible. They just need counseling and maybe a startup loan. And they could work their way out of those booths. But it is fun to see these girls in the booth and then have all these horrible human beings go up and ask them questions about the motorcycles that they're standing in front of or sitting on, and they just look like deer in headlights when you ask them a question.
Phil, this is the future of healthcare. These girls are all working their way through medical school.
Right, they're all nurses, right? They're all going to be nurses. They're all grad students, I'm sure.
And Mark and I really don't appreciate when you talk about us like that.
Yes. Well, the interesting thing is we will very frequently have ladies in our booth, too, but these are employees who actually work in the store. So we've got Emmy working there, who's an extremely competent mechanic. We've got Renee working there, who's our shop manager of how many years? And these are people that know the ins and outs of every machine that's on the floor, that's in our booth. They've ridden them. They can tell you all kinds of stuff about them. Their only problem at that show is our girls are far too pretty. So the guys walk up to them and they think that they're talking to a booth babe, and they're actually talking to somebody who understands the bike they're talking. And so they immediately realize they're outclassed.
But I will give Emmy and Renee credit and say that no matter what, they are booth babes.
Oh, yeah, well, the funny thing is,
They're babes, they're in the booth.
and they're in our booth.
So,
yeah.
There you go.
Well, if you ever work one of these things, and if anybody ever asks, hey, would you like to volunteer and come out and work in my booth for the weekend and help us out? Chris did that. And Chris doesn't have a lot of experience working in motorcycle booths, but we actually had to pull the classic move, which is I sent Chris over to rescue Emmy from what we like to call a space invader or a hostage taker.
You should have seen my Lycra outfit.
I see Emmy, and she's just on the ropes. She's getting pounded verbally by this guy who has nothing better to do in life than visit my store 26 times a year. And when our store goes public for one weekend a month, he comes, and of the entire motorcycle show that he paid to get into, he's going to hang out in the booth, the same booth that he harasses. Now, I can only hope that during the course of 3 days that he gave all the other booths the same kind of attention he gave ours, but I don't think so.
I highly doubt Suzuki took that.
He
from
wasn't
him.
in the Honda booth. No.
So Chris did a number one job and went over there and ran interference for Emmy, rescued Emmy from him.
And then pawned him off on me.
Yeah, a bit of a close talker. I came back to the booth 2 or 3 times, and I'm not kidding you. He was in the booth. We chased him out. A couple hours later, he's back again.
Yeah.
He's back again.
With all the charm of Charles Manson.
Guy was a bad penny, man. Bad penny. And he's a close talker and a mumbler.
Yeah.
So it's a bad combination.
With man hands.
Every year we do like a clever T-shirt or some kind of fancy thing. We did nice Dickies shirts this year with the embroidered logo on the back and patches on the front. Next year we're going to do a T-shirt underneath that says, I really don't care about the motorcycle you used to own, because I can help you with the bike you own. I can help you with the bike you want to own. There ain't a damn thing I can do for you about a bike you owned in the 70s.
Which is a very long T-shirt. It's on the front, and right? It goes down the back, and
yeah,
you have to kind of do a pirouette when people read it. But
well, if they hang in that long, you can pull the tails out and you can show them the tails, which is where the punchline is, as usual. So Chris, did you bring these beers tonight?
I did.
Holy crap, we're drinking good beer. These look like the greatest hits of Christmas I'm drinking. Santa's Private Reserve from Rogue. I've got a Winter Warmer. This is pretty good.
Great Lakes Christmas Ale.
Yeah, all I brought was a 30-pack.
I'm doing a Hop Notch IPA
the Hop
right now.
Notches are
It's
good.
fantastic.
yeah.
I'm actually on my 3rd one already. This thing's fantastic.
If you're not in the Cleveland area and you're
Very
listening to this podcast and anybody offers you a Great Lakes Christmas Ale,
Take
okay,
it.
you drink that.
okay, here's the rule.
And you enjoy it.
You make sure there's 2 or 3 of them there.
And only 2 or 3.
If you want to have a good time, give one to your old lady, because it makes women fight. It really does. They get really, really they get punchy on this stuff.
I get angry though when I drink.
Oh, you do?
Too. Oh yeah, I'm angry.
So it's not chromosome based.
No.
That stuff is a bottle of stupid. You drink Great Lakes Christmas Ale, and you're just dumb.
Oh my God, man! It prevents DUIs, because after 4 you can't find your car.
Yeah.
There's no way you're getting a DUI on the way home with that thing.
Or your keys.
Well, the other one that the people don't realize.
It's a good thing you had a lot of days off in the Christmas time.
Yeah.
You'd be calling in
the
sick.
Great Lakes Commodore Perry.
Yeah.
IPA.
That's our normal drink around here.
That's a good one. But man, that thing packs a liquor buzz.
Yeah, it does. It gets you proper drunk.
You drink 4 or 5 of those, and it's like you just drank half a bottle of whiskey.
Yeah, good stuff.
It just
Very good
kills
stuff.
you, but it's so delicious.
Oh man! So you worked the booth. What was the number one best and or worst thing that somebody said to you while you were working in the booth?
My favorite one was when I was talking to a guy, and I was drinking a beer, as all of us were.
Right.
And he says, your boss let you drink while you work in the show? And I turned around and pointed at Phil, and I said, my boss bought me the fucking beer.
It's all of noon.
Well, you guys did start out with the Bloody Marys.
Right, we did start with the Bloody
Proper.
Marys, yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of funny.
Does your boss know you're drinking?
And I was like, I pointed
Bought me
at
the
him,
damn
he's
thing.
fucking drunker than I am. So that was cool.
What'd you get, Chris?
Well, we were showing off a lot of bikes. And
Yeah,
a
we
lot
did.
of people coming through the bikes and just enjoying what you had out on the floor and really oogling the bikes. And one guy was saying, I am going to buy this bike. I'm going to buy this bike. And I said, fine, let me go get the paperwork. We'll start to write it up. And he says, well, I'm unemployed right now, but I'll come back.
today.
And I said, okay, well, when your ship comes in, I'd be happy to.
I'll be right here for you, baby.
Get you started.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
a lot of people kicking tires.
Oh, yeah.
But everybody that came in that booth,
Yeah.
I got to tell you, they were smiling.
Oh, yeah.
The number of smiles you see on people's faces.
Yeah.
What a fun booth to be at.
It is a good booth. To give you an idea for people sitting at home listening to this.
Mix.
Yeah, to get the visual, we had Moto Guzzi Cafe Racer, the chrome one. And if you read any motorcycle magazine, you've seen pictures of this thing. We had it up on a 4-foot platform, up on a lift in the middle of the booth so nobody could sit on it and scratch the tank.
Oh, good, because this is leading to the best thing I heard
Oh,
on
yeah.
the show.
We got Moto Guzzi Grigio. We've got the new V7 Stone sitting there. We've got a couple of vintage Hondas, beautiful CB750 Cafe Racer. We had a bike that we just finished, which is a CB350F, the 4-cylinder.
Right.
And we did it very straight. The only thing that wasn't stock on the bike was a 4-into-1 header. And but the paint on the thing was just fantastic. And
But a 4-to-1 header on a CB350F is a fucking awesome thing.
It sounds great.
So.
And Chris brought in his military. So Chris has a military Royal Enfield, and those are hard to come by. So he brought in one of those. We just had a very good-looking booth. I couldn't have been happier with the way the booth turned out. And we made sure there was a lot of room to walk around. We had Fulmer guys came out and did a full Fulmer display with us. So we had intercom systems and helmets and jackets. Gene was great. He helped us out a lot. And it was fun to hear people go into corporate booths all day long and see Triumphs and they're
There we
off.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're off.
Whoa, man. That bottle cap.
I hit my ukulele with a bottle cap.
Nice. That's the sound of a bottle cap hitting a ukulele. For all you Foley artists.
You don't often hear.
Yeah. That's going to show up in a movie next month.
Well, I'm going to package that sound.
They package that sound and sell it. Yeah. So
There's money in that.
they come in the booth and they're like, man, I've been to the entire show. I've been to the entire show, and the most exciting bike in this entire show is sitting in your booth. It's that Chrome Cafe Racer, man. Everybody loved that Chrome Cafe Racer. We could sell as many as they'll get us. The problem is there's only 500 for the whole country. There's only 1,000 in the world. And that's done. They're done. They're not making any more of them. That's what you get. And so we got 6 and we're done.
Yeah, you got 6.
Yeah, we got 6 and we're done. We sold 2 of them at the show, and it's February now. And if we have 2 bikes we're holding in inventory right now, that means for the next 2 people who come in to buy them, they're actually going to get a bike. I'm delivering one on Sunday. Couple of
Did
days
the one
here.
guy want his in the crate?
Yeah, we got one guy who appreciates the value of the thing based on
In
its
the crate
numbered
with
status.
all the shipping
He wants all the
information,
packaging material. He wants the whole thing. He wants the crate. He wants everything. Now, by law, we're going to prep it and get it ready for him so it's safe and legal to be sold. But he wants all the crates
you
and stuff
actually
that comes
have to
with
take
it.
it out of the crate.
I'm going to. I'm not going to. Not going to play around with that.
Bummer.
State of Ohio is real clear that you've got to prep bikes.
Yeah, that's a liability waiting to happen.
You just can't sell people.
Liability.
Yeah, liability, right? Yeah, we all like our.
I was going to say the best thing I heard in the booth at the show was after I showed up, you met me at the door and brought my badge to me, and you're like, man, James sold one of those
Cafe Racers.
Moto Guzzi
Boom,
Cafe Racers.
Right there. Yeah, right out of the
Dude,
booth.
he's hot. Somebody came in, he sold it to him. Amazing. I mean, I wasn't there about an hour, and a guy came up to me and he's like, are you James? And I was like, no, I am not, but that's James over there talking to somebody. I could bring you over to him. He's like, yeah, I'm buying that bike.
Yeah.
And he pointed to the
Cafe
bike on the
Racer,
stand,
yeah.
the Cafe Racer.
Right.
I'm like, I'm like, you're the guy that bought it. Oh, cool. And he's like, well, no, I didn't buy it yet.
I didn't buy it yet.
he's like, I'm buying one though, and I was given this information that I needed to talk to James.
Right.
I was like, oh shit. Okay, cool. So whoever James is talking to, I just pulled him right away from him.
Just snatch him away.
I'm like, James,
Yeah.
bro, this guy buying that bike, and James is just like, oh, hello, sir. You know.
It's a bike that is a knee-jerk reaction bike. It's an impulse buy.
So, for the novice, tell me about the Cafe Racer. Who makes them? Why is there only 1,000?
Well, it's a Cafe Racer is a term.
For a style of bike.
Yeah, for a style of bike. It's not the name of the bike.
That bike actually is named the Cafe Racer.
No, but who makes that bike?
V7.
No,
Moto Guzzi.
Yeah.
It's a Moto Guzzi V7.
Chris's next bike.
It's a 750cc Moto Guzzi sideways
Parallel twin. Or
V-twin.
Yeah,
Sideways V-twin. Shaft drive. Fantastic motorcycle. They've been making them for ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, the V7's been around for about 40 years.
Manufactured where?
In Italy.
Italy.
By Italians.
Actually, in Italy.
Yeah.
In Italy by Italians.
Yeah. They're
Not in Taiwan with Italians.
what makes the bike
badges on
really
it.
interesting to people is the history behind the company. It's a romance item. It's a motorcycle that is built by hand. They're numbered and signed by the people who build them. They're still I hate to say it, but it's almost a primitive style assembly line. The facility that they're built in was built in 1921, and it's the same facility in Mandela Delorio, right on Lake Como. So there's this whole romantic thing that the three guys who were all veterans of World War I, these Italian guys, two guys were a pilot. Two dudes were pilots, and the guy whose name is Guzzi, who actually, where the name of the bike came from, was an engineer. He was a mechanic and engineer. And these three guys got together, and the one guy was already a famous motorcycle racer in 1918. He was also a pilot. And so these three guys are Air Force buddies, for lack of a better term. Right after the war, they wanted to do something. They were unemployed. So they decided that once their buddy, who always went off and raced motorcycles, they said they wanted to build him the ultimate racing motorcycle. So with the help of the engineer and one of the pilots, Dad had very deep pockets. He was a shipping magnate. And the other guy, who was a renowned pilot and a renowned motorcycle racer, that's a trifecta right there. So those three guys put their head together and started building motorcycles. And the first batch of motorcycles they built were all specifically racing motorcycles.
I love shipping magnates because they always have a lot of dough. That's a good thing.
And that's
a good thing to have.
Yeah.
But
to have one of
let's
those
talk
nearby.
about cafe racers.
Mm-hmm.
That's a term that comes out of, I thought, France.
No, England.
England?
Yeah. We've explained it a few times on the podcast. But just for you, I'll re-explain the cafe racer.
Nice.
Well,
It's
for
okay,
all
'cause-
those novices listening, there's a new novice audience
There's
tonight.
somebody that hasn't listened to a previous podcast where we explained it.
And we've gotten pretty good at tightening it up, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the whole concept of the cafe racer came out of late 50s, early 60s England. And it was basically the local boys, wanting to hot rod their motorcycles to be like the guys that were racing motorcycles at the time. And so they were doing whatever they could. They were putting clip-ons on, bump stop seats,
Lower
fairings,
handlebars,
lower
sporty
handlebars, anything they could do to tuck in harder to get that, another mile per hour.
Stripping parts off.
Yeah, stripping parts off, making them lighter. And
The goal was to go over 100 miles an hour on a bike that was made that probably
It was-
went 90 miles or 85 miles an hour.
it was called doing the ton.
And usually there was your dad's bike, and
But also, usually they were racing between bistros or cafes.
Exactly, and that's where the term
Trying to pick
cafe
up
racer
the,
came
the
from.
babes,
It was
in
it was
London
when
at the time.
Britain had their first highway system built, and they had all these highways that had no speed limit on them, and they had interchanges and turnarounds, and they had started building highway stops. And pretty much the whole deal was, guys would get together at a highway stop, which was basically a coffee shop,
and race to the next one.
and they go race to the next one and back.
Or before a song ended.
Well, that was another thing they would do is the needle drop.
Yeah.
They would do a record drop thing too, where somebody would play a song on the jukebox and you had to race to a certain point and back before the song ended.
One of my favorite things we talk about the romance of things, and that's really what carries any idea along. The reason Volkswagen reintroduced a Beetle is because everybody remembers one that they had when a kid, and I like to tell people, you might think that you want them to bring back a Beetle. But if they brought back a 66 Beetle, built the way it was in 66, you'd return the fucking thing in a week. What do you mean? The defroster doesn't work, my feet are cold.
It doesn't have heat.
It has no horsepower, and the brakes don't work. Right?
My girlfriend left me.
Right.
And the boards in the side are rusted and they fall off and you step on them.
So we
you
always
mean heat's an option?
Yeah, we want romance, we want history, and that's why in the United States in particular, the good old days are a big thing for us. I mean, that's the PT Cruiser, the Camaro, the Mustang. There ain't a new design out there. They're bringing back these old designs.
I'm sorry, you said PT Cruiser?
It's a very retro style vehicle, and they sold tons of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have any problem selling them. And it's based on a cheap ass, neon chassis.
Oh, they're awful.
Yeah, but if you want to sell a lot of them, they sold a ton of them. So that's fine.
Niche vehicle.
And people put wood on the side. Right? They didn't put wood on the side or
wood
paper,
stickers.
plastics on the side. Well, they didn't put it on because it was George Jetson. They didn't put it on because it was the newest thing. So retro is cool in a country like America where the good old days look better than the future. And we tell people that retro is very hip in the United States because our good old days really were good. They were amazing, and they look better in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
And the Europeans are funny. They don't do a lot. They don't do as much retro as we do because their good old days involved jackbooted thugs going through their neighborhoods. So they kind of look towards the future a little bit, but retro is selling hot for the past 15 years in the United States. Retro motorcycles. That's why every motorcycle company does some kind of a retro, and they know it sells like crack in the United States. Cafe Racers has become what crazy outlandish choppers were and big retro Harleys were 5 years ago, 6 years ago with the super strong economy. Cafe Racers are today because you get the same image of the past, you get the same history lesson that comes with the motorcycle at half the price or a third of the price. Now, the Cafe Racers that got this group together were the Cafe Racers that we were building out of necessity from $500 and $600 motorcycles that we would find on Craigslist, and then buying a bone stock bike that had been hidden in a garage for 30 years, and then using techniques from the 70s or 60s or 50s, modifying those bikes into which would have been called Cafe Racers back then. Cafe Racer was a very interesting term. It was a derogatory term. We like this part of the story.
It was a very.
It's one of my favorite parts of the story because
none of those guys that made those motorcycles and rode those motorcycles ever said
they never would have called it a
Cafe Racer.
They never would have called it a Cafe Racer.
You know,
it was a derogatory term by British motorists who were saying these guys aren't racers. They're punks. They're Cafe Racers. And that was a real big slam to them at the time. They called their bikes specials. Racing motorcycles back in the day, you remember the Dan Gurney special and the this special and the that special. Everybody had a special, the Norton special. Automotive manufacturers did it in the 50s too. They called their bikes, insert name of racer here, special. So the Cafe Racer thing came around many years later when they had to put a name on the term of art for that bike, and people went, yeah, those are those Cafe Racer bikes. And the people that were riding them were like, yeah, we're okay with that. It's okay. We'll take that.
So
and it's stuck.
The trilogy of movies, the girl with the dragon tattoo and so forth out of Sweden, the Savant was racing on, I believe, a Triumph.
No.
Bonneville? Was it Ducati? What was it?
CL350.
It depends on if you're in the movie or in the book. That's where it gets crazy.
In the movie, it's a CL350.
That's the American
movie. It's a 1971, same year as mine.
Yeah. In the American movie, she's riding around a CL350 Scrambler made into a Cafe Racer.
Yeah, they built 3 of them for the movie. 3 identical bikes with the same dings, the same scratches,
real cool.
everything.
The American movie?
In the American
version?
in the
How about the
American
Swedish
In the Swedish
films?
movie, she's riding a Yamaha 250cc Super Motard, which is a dirt bike with street tires put on it. So that's another type of a special bike where you take a dirt bike and you repurpose it by putting street tires on it and street rims.
My buddy Kyler had one.
Yeah, they're fun, man. Supermotors are just a wild thing on the
so
street.
high, though, I couldn't even sit on it. 4 feet off the ground.
They're big fun. And, this, when we get into it, we're talking about our podcast, and what we do tends to focus around Cafe Racers or the bikes that are on the more affordable side of the house. There's plenty of information out there for people who want to ride $25,000, $35,000 Harley Davidsons. There's a group of rarefied air of people that collect bikes from the teens and the 20s that are $150,000 bikes.
Jay Leno.
Like the Jay Leno types, sure. Bro Superiors and that kind of stuff.
There's Jay Leno, and then there's
Jay Leno. Right.
And then there's Jay Leno.
And then there's the Cafe Racer group, but then there's all these legitimate, like, street racer or what we call crotch rocket bikes, which are really, 200-mile-an-hour machines.
Affordable death machines.
Which is funny because those are the modern Cafe Racers.
Yes, they are. Absolutely.
They are the modern Cafe Racers.
Sure.
They're the guys. What we are emulating with our Cafe Racers, our vintage bikes that we build into like vintage race bikes, is what the guys 40 years prior.
The bikes are
they would have loved to have a GXR 750. They would have been like, fuck you on this Norton. God.
They wouldn't be dicking around with the CB 750 from 1972.
They would not be dicking around with a 40-year-old motorcycle.
They'd be sitting on a Hayabusa.
They would jump on a Hayabusa and go, thank you.
They bought the fastest thing they could buy in the day, and out of our hero worship of the past, we're buying that bike too.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to. The real reason we do it, and we all came into it, is even when we got to a point where we could afford more expensive motorcycles, we still were fond of these bikes because it just represents a certain portion of motorcycle history that we really thought was fun because it was everyday man.
Not me.
So if you're a Europhile, what should you be looking at?
Oh, goodness. Well, if you're a Europhile, you want to buy a Moto Guzzi because they're actually made in Italy. Mm-hmm. Where a lot of the new
Lake Como. Does George Clooney have?
I'm sure he does. Yeah. In fact, I bet you there's a picture of it. Ewan McGregor is a big fan of the Moto Guzzis. A lot of like Billy Joel and a lot of people who are really into authenticity go for the Moto Guzzi. Also because the factory can only produce 10,000 units a year because of its small size. So instantly there's a limitation on the number of bikes that are out there. There's no shortage of Harley Davidsons, but like I said, come into a shop and try to buy a brand new Cafe Racer from Moto Guzzi, and unless you do it in November of last year, you're probably going to be waiting a few months.
Or at Phil's show.
Well, yeah, he did well to buy when he did. He didn't wait till the sun was shining. And so BMW still is a bike that is super well respected. The Moto Guzzi, the reason that we got into it and the reason it stands tall is we like to think that the Moto Guzzi is kind of a distinguished gentleman's motorcycle, or it's a universal accepted motorcycle. If you go to a Harley Davidson gathering on your crotch rocket, they're not going to appreciate you.
They're going to throw bottles at you.
Right. They're probably going to kick the bike over in the parking lot. Okay.
But if you go to Harley Davidson set up on a Moto Guzzi, they're going to be like, hey, that's kind of cool.
They're going to love it. They're going to walk away from their very expensive motorcycle to come and talk to you about yours because there's a certain amount of history there that they respect.
Some cachet.
There is, and there is the fact that it is.
That's a pretty big word for you, Chris, isn't it? Cachet? Wow.
I'm a pretty big guy.
It's a short word, but it's distinguished.
That's very impressive. Yeah. Extinguished when you're talking about Chris, but yeah.
And if you took that same Moto Guzzi and the next day you ended up at a BMW gathering with guys with their pinky in the air and their espresso, they would also leave their motorcycles to come and talk to you about yours because you're also a European interesting person. Only an interesting person would choose to ride such a motorcycle. And that's kind of weird. And whereas the Ducati has the same flavor, being Italian, the Ducatis tend to be very, very speed-oriented. They're modern, cutting-edge track racing motorcycles. And a lot of us are very realistic about the likelihood of us ever ending up on a racetrack. I'll tell you, that shit ain't going to happen.
That is the fantastic thing.
I don't like to
Ducati,
fall down.
Though.
I don't like to fall down anymore at 100 miles an hour. I want to get to where I'm going, and I want to look good doing it.
And well, it ends poorly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for me, it was a big thing to get the Moto Guzzis in because they really represented a kind of a soulful spirit to me, and I like that kind of thing.
Plus, we carry Enfields, and it's not a
it's not a leap for us,
right?
Yeah.
It's not. We're not, huge dealership where we're going to carry. Honda,
and those people
Yamaha,
were already coming
Suzuki.
into our store anyway.
Right.
The guys that were coming to our store, and we were like, "What kind of bike do you have at home?" "Oh, I got a Royal Enfield. I'm buying this modern one's fuel injected." "Okay, what else you got?" "Oh, I got a Guzzi." "Oh, Jesus, you got a Guzzi?" "Yeah, I got a 72. It's got 125,000 miles on it." "Jesus Christ. Well, when did you buy it?" "I bought it new." "Oh, we got to hang out."
That was
you're kind of cool. Where you been hiding? Yeah.
The other bike that drew a lot of people into the our booth was that bobbed Enfield.
Yeah, that bobbed up Bob Tracker Enfield that we just took a regular Enfield and we just did what you're supposed to do. We cut it all up. And we cut the bike all up and it just looks cool. It looks cooler that way. And we made a few changes to the way it stood and, we did a little cutting here, a little welding there. And it was a team project at our shop. We just looked at it and kept looking at it. I remember when Chris walked in, we still had the bike. It was complete and the bike hadn't been touched yet. We hadn't taken a saw to it yet. And when Chris walked in, I was like, "Hey, Chris, when you look at this bike, man, what part of this bike catches your eye?" And I asked about 50 people that to get a consensus because I wanted to make sure that my opinion wasn't the only one. And Chris said the same deal. He's like, "That bike's got great shoulders. It's got a great headlight assembly. We got to hunker it in a little more, And it was funny that kind of everybody who looked at that bike, all their input went into the way we built it. And the bike won, the bike wins awards. So it's a neat machine. And it's fun, too, because it's lightweight and it's small and anybody can ride it.
The best thing was getting Harley guys to come over and sit on it.
Oh, yeah.
At first, they're like, "No, I ride a Harley." And I'm like, "Come on."
Yeah.
I thought it was the funniest thing Like every last one of them had their girlfriend or wife or whoever. Like, honey, sit on this bike. I think this is the bike for you.
Well, it's too big for me, but you try it, and then they get on it and they're like, well, I probably could ride this.
I could probably ride this.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I was only there the one day on Sunday, and I was just like, holy shit. If we manufactured these, we could sell them to every wife and or girlfriend of a guy that owns a fucking Harley.
And it's not a Honda Rebel.
Right.
Exactly, yeah.
And the guys that get on it, and they'd have their girlfriends take their photo on it, too.
Oh, more pictures were taken on that bike than anything.
Yeah. They were all smiling.
Oh, yeah, and I told everybody, they're like, I don't want to sit on the bike. It's got a chrome tank and everything. I was like, no, dude, sit on that.
Sit on it, yeah.
And they're like, no, I don't want to. I'm like, dude, that's my bike. That's the bike I ride. I'd be proud if you sat on it and took a picture. Really? Oh, cool, that's great. And then they sit on it and they're like, oh, man, this thing's light. It's remarkably comfortable. I'm like, yeah, I'm 6'1", and I cut it to fit me, so it works.
Yeah, I probably got about 200 people to sit on that bike.
It'll rip and tear, too.
It is quick. It's real quick because it doesn't weigh anything.
Yeah.
So I got this kind of thing, and I wanted to talk to the podcast people about it because it gets into a little bit of ego or a little bit of who we are as people. The one thing that I heard more times at the show than I can count, because it is Cleveland and it is a motorcycle show, so there's a lot of black leather and a lot of orange logos.
Yep.
So it's a real Harley Davidson center, focused show. The vast majority of people in there,
Harley centric.
Yeah, we call it Halloween for bikers because it's like a Halloween event. If there wasn't 2 feet of snow outside, you'd think that you just arrived at an active, functioning motorcycle rally because people are checking their parkas, and underneath their parkas, they've got their, their assless chaps, and they've got their halter tops and their bustiers and feathers and
shit. A lot
of
tassels.
And those are just the guys.
Those are just the guys, exactly. So
the girls come out on Thursday.
Right, yeah, there they go. So the phrase that kept popping up in the booth, and I only hear this really, I really hear it at the motorcycle show, is the phrase, sorry, man, I'm a Harley guy.
Yeah.
Okay, now, I've never had a product that I have felt so goddamn indebted to, where when somebody asks me, what kind of person are you? I've answered with the name of a product. Like, that's strong marketing. So when you can say, I'm not a mechanic, I'm not an engineer,
I'm a Harley
I'm not
guy.
a good dad. Right?
I'm a good husband.
I'm
a Jehovah's.
Right. I'm clever. I'm witty. I'm charming. I'm attractive.
Yeah, I'm a Rhodes Scholar.
Obsequious, purple, and clairvoyant.
I'm a Harley guy.
Yeah, I'm a Harley.
Yeah, and that's a hell of a statement when you hear it.
Yeah, you boiled it down to one fucking thing in your life that
Right.
describes you.
So, you hear that statement 23,000 times over a weekend from people that walk up into your booth, and they're either like, no, thank you, I'm a Harley guy.
Yeah.
Which is normally when somebody comes to my house on a Sunday, I immediately say no, thank you. Whatever. I usually reserve that statement for something on the importance of religion.
Yeah.
So, one, this is their religion.
Well, it is.
Right. They probably own more Harley-Davidson logo and branded apparel than most Catholics own crosses. So that could be something.
Ouch.
Well, it could be. I mean, I have been surrounded by Harley people before. I've gone to their homes, and when the phone rings in the house, and it sounds like a Harley Davidson going, rum, 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 and you look over, and there's a little light flickering on a $19 Chinese piece of shit telephone, and he picks it up, and it's a Harley Davidson telephone. That makes the Sports Illustrated football phone look totally sensible. He's got Harley Davidson socks on. He's got Harley Davidson jeans.
If they were to stop making bikes today, they could still continue selling product.
And he's driving a Harley Davidson edition Ford F-150 pickup truck, right? That's $35,000, $40,000. So we have to ask ourselves, what other product has ever had that kind of fucking following?
We have to ask ourselves, what the hell's happening to our culture?
Right. That's our identity. That's our identity, that we can displace who we are for what we have parked in the garage.
Product, yeah.
Well, let's forget these Harley guys. Let's go back to Europe for a minute then and talk to me about Triumphs.
I'd love to.
I'm drawn to the Triumph.
Well,
I love the Bonneville.
I think we have
It's a good thing to be drawn to.
Cool.
There's only one thing that we say about Triumph, and I really, man, I want so desperately for somebody to contact us and correct the living hell out of me about this. And I'm certain that with our 10,000 plus listeners, we're going to have somebody do this.
We have 10,000.
Yeah, we do.
Well, just for you.
Yeah, just for you tonight only. Yeah,
For you, Ray.
but
Nice.
what I
can die now. I've reached everything.
what I've learned from what I've read is that since about 2006 or so, that more and more and more of the Triumph product is not manufactured in England. And I'm not talking about pieces and parts. I'm talking about entire motorcycles. So what I have been trained to do was to look at the 11th digit of the VIN. The VIN number, or the VIN, if we don't like using duplication of terms or redundancy, the VIN is a code. And the 11th digit, the 10th digit in the code is the year of the vehicle. The 11th digit in the code is the factory of origin. And every factory of origin from every manufacturer has a particular code. The particular letter and code for Triumph in Thailand is a T. Okay? And so you can very simply look at the neck of a motorcycle, count to the 11th digit, and if it's a T, the motorcycle is manufactured in Thailand. And I believe if it's a P or if it's a D, then it's made in England, in Hinckley. Okay? So I spoke to somebody from Triumph last weekend. And Dustin and I took a walk around the show on Sunday, and we went into Triumph's booth.
I'm glad I came back for this.
And when we went into Triumph's booth, we looked
got to
very
walk around at the
carefully
show?
at the 20-plus motorcycles that were in their booth. And what we learned is that every single motorcycle that we saw in their booth that was 900 cc's or smaller, which would be all your Bonnevilles and your America and all that stuff, all of those motorcycles had a T as the 11th digit in the VIN. Okay? It was only the motorcycles that were larger in displacement than that in fact had the, was it a P or a D, Dustin?
I think it was a P.
Okay, and I don't have my book with me, so I can't tell you what the codes are, but I can tell you that the one commonality among all the 900s and lower, which would be your Bonnevilles and all your more entry-level or classic-looking Triumphs, that they are, in fact, all made in Thailand for the past several years. The bigger ones, the more expensive ones, and that would be the Thunderbird and all their big racers and things. Those bikes are all, in fact, those appear to all have been made in Hinckley. So those are all made in Britain.
So can you get a Bonneville or one of the smaller ones made in England anymore?
You can, and that's what
You have to special order them, or
No, you can't. You can't get them here because every motorcycle that's sold in America has to be EPA and DOT approved. So the way you could get one of those,
Damn attorneys.
here we go. But the way you would get one of those is you would actually go to England, where the bikes there are made in England. They are considerably more expensive, and I'm talking about by a factor of like $4,000. You would then have the motorcycle professionally converted to meet the EPA and DOT standards. I'm going to predict that the price on that would be exorbitant to a factor of 4. And then you'd have to ship it back here where it would have to be inspected here on an individual basis to make sure that it's legal for use on our roadways. I would venture to say that the amount of red tape in that is prohibitive. So
the short answer is no.
the short answer really is you can, but you probably don't.
the long answer is no.
Right. The long answer is no. Or we're just going to say we're going to say it's not impossible, but it's wholly impractical. So I had a dealer tell me that all of the motorcycles that Triumph sells east of the Mississippi, the 900s and 900s and smaller, all the ones that are sold east of the Mississippi come from England, and all the ones sold west of the Mississippi come from Thailand.
That is
Oh, yeah.
Now,
Okay.
now I believe that
On
the
a
dealer,
shipping basis,
Right.
that okay, maybe.
Now, what challenged that statement is I went into that dealer's booth, and I looked at a used motorcycle that he had there that was modified. So I said, did your shop sell this? Yes, we did. And did your shop do the modification? Yes, we did. And you are certainly east of the Mississippi. He's in Cleveland area. And I looked, and of course, the 11th digit in the VIN plate was a T. So that one might have just snuck over the Mississippi. Right. So I think that what he might have said, because he was actually talking to your father-in-law,
Yeah.
because your father-in-law had expressed an interest in owning a Triumph.
Not father-in-law,
Stepfather.
Yeah.
But he has an interest in owning a British Triumph.
Yeah.
And so he was none too happy to find out that the motorcycle that guy had previously been trying to sell him was not from Britain. Because there is a certain amount of flag waving that goes on when you buy a Triumph motorcycle. That's why we buy them.
Certain amount of cachet.
There is. Yeah, excellent, right? Yeah. I mean, you don't want to buy a Triumph motorcycle and put a Thailand. I don't know what the Thailand flag looks like, the Thai flag looks like, but you don't want to put one of those on your jacket, right?
I like Thai food, but
I do too, right?
I don't want a Thai motorcycle.
That's Thai, not Thailand.
Well, I kind
Correct.
of, and I think I've said this in the podcast before.
That
If I were
That's
to
cachet.
buy,
Let's use Chris's word again of the month, cachet.
if I were to buy a motorcycle that looked like a Harley Davidson, I would rather buy a Harley Davidson, the genuine article. Now, that's not the particular kind of bike that I like, but if I were to go buy one, I would probably not purchase a Honda that looks like a duck and smells like a duck but isn't a duck. I'd probably buy the Harley and then not have to make excuses for why I didn't buy the genuine article. So I think that
except for the Honda would run better.
that would be fine.
Well, you'd have to make excuses to us to why you bought the Harley.
Right, exactly. Right. I would buy the Harley because it's a fucking Harley.
Exactly.
I would buy the Harley. I would not buy the Suzuki copy of the Harley or the Honda copy of the Harley because it was better or whatever. I would say, I want a fucking Harley. I'm buying a fucking Harley. And, okay, so it costs 30% more. Well, if you're ready for that game, you fucking step up to that game.
And tell folks it's parked over there.
Right.
And just go take a look at it.
You know, that could
Exactly.
be actually a future podcast shootout.
Yeah.
Could be what jet bike that looks like a Harley
Is better than a Harley.
is better than Harley. Which one? They're okay. They're all better than a Harley.
Well,
but
and that's the point. I think that's
which one is the best of
Right.
the better than the Harley?
I really don't think that it would take too long to do that, and I think that there are entire motorcycle magazines devoted to
That
that.
do that, yeah.
There are they call them metric cruisers.
Yeah.
There are metric cruiser magazines that are all about which one is the best at being a Harley, and some of them have left the Harley Davidson so far in their wake that they are now only competing against other Japanese product. That's great. But the point is, when you buy a 57 T-Bird, you want a 57 T-Bird. You don't want a 2006 T-Bird, because it looks kind of like, if you squint, a 57
Still
T-Bird.
not a T-Bird.
Right, it's still not a T-Bird. Right, so I really have a strong respect for that. I really think that there's a certain amount of integrity with that.
Doesn't leak oil like that T-Bird either.
Right, and there's also, there's no commitment to ownership. And that's one of those things that when you see a guy who has an antique car and he works on that thing and keeps it on the road, Royal Enfield has a great T-shirt. And the T-shirt says, "Making mere men into mechanics since 1901. That's a great T-shirt. It's a great sentiment. We always used to say you could tell a real mechanic if he rode in on a Royal Enfield. Back in the day when they were unreliable, or let's just say
Less reliable.
50s technology.
Yeah.
Back in the 90s when the bikes were still 50s
Let's just say
technology.
any motorcycle of that era.
Right. So it's kind
You
of
had to be a
yeah.
mechanic.
Now, slipping through all these remarks is a little bit of Harley bashing. Talk to me about that.
On that side of the room.
Yes. Well, talk to me about if they run or if they start. At
don't
risk of
have-
having these big Harley guys
I don't-
beat us up.
they
Tell me about
run
that.
and-
I don't
Start.
have anything per se against Harley. What I have against is
Oh, there you go.
the
Fancy
whole-
words again. Per se, cachet.
what we talked
A lot
about
of French
before
words being
was-
thrown around, but go ahead.
Well, that's Mark for you. We bring Mark
French.
in. All we have is class.
Je ne sais poutine?
I'm multicultural.
I dated her in high school, actually, but go ahead and go back to the Harley thing.
Well, I don't have anything against Harley as a machine. I don't like the whole, as we were talking earlier, the whole thing with the people who, I'm a Harley guy. Well, really? What do you have? Well, I don't have one.
Right. I have plenty of T-shirts.
But I have all the gear.
Right. Yeah.
But
I have a hog membership.
So why not? Why would you dream?
I'm
of,
a hog
of
member.
riding a bike
God
that
damn
you've
it.
never owned when
Right.
for less money you could actually go buy a fucking bike and ride it.
Right.
And I'd rather ride than talk about what
You're getting pretty whipped up about this now. Let's just calm down there. Let's go.
Oh, this argument puts Ford
I don't
and
hate
Chevy
Harleys. I would own a Harley,
dust.
but
I
it
mean-
wouldn't look like a Harley that you see riding bar hopping out there. It would probably be slammed. It'd be a Sportster, and people don't like Sportsters, but
Right.
I think I could cafe a Sportster.
What's the
pretty
matter with the
sweet.
Sportster? That's the only one I can sit on and touch the ground with my feet.
Well,
Exactly.
That's one of the things. But the Sportster was always looked at as the
That's the
bitch's
only
bike.
one that
It's-
any of us besides Phil
Can ride.
and maybe Chris could touch the ground with their feet.
My first Harley Davidson was a Sportster. And
you can trick out a Sportster.
my
man.
Sportster was
I love
from
how
the
you
era-
start that with my first.
Right. Well, my Sportster was from an era when Sportsters earned their name Sportster. It was a sporting motorcycle. It really was.
Before they started
performance-
putting all the crap
Of course.
on them.
It was a performance motorcycle. It was a 750cc. It was designed to have a lean angle. It was designed to be the sportiest Harley-Davidson as compared to the bikes that you're going to recall as being like the police bikes, the FLHs and all that stuff. That was what Harley was building at the time. This was a lighter, sportier, quicker motorcycle designed to do battle with the British bikes of the time. And they did. And they kicked much ass. And they worked very well. And there's flat track racing that still to this day runs that 750 motor. So the Sportster, unfortunately, became Americanized. It got lower. It got heavier. It got fatter and wider and longer. And
It's
it
an
lost-
American motorcycle. How could it be Americanized?
Well, that's what happened to Americans.
How could-
we got slower
how could it be
and
any more
fatter
American?
and lower.
In 1980 or so,
Oh, and you know what? I
for-
get it. It's because Americans got fatter and lower.
well,
That's a healthcare issue.
in 1980 or so, we're just going to leave that open. Harley Davidson produced a motorcycle called the XR 100 CR. And the CR stood for Cafe Racer. And if I rolled that motorcycle to your garage right now,
I know that bike.
you would spend the next half an hour jerking off over it.
And they didn't sell
No,
any of them.
I know that
They
bike.
sold
I've seen that bike.
like crap. They sold none. Now, they
I
were
saw
just
the one that
Mike Douglas rode in Black Rain.
no, that
Billy Joel.
Billy Joel owns. Yeah,
They were-
It
they
was in the
were-
Rock Hall for a long
They were
time.
wild for the day. They were very strange looking for a Harley Davidson. They had completely missed the beat on the marketing. That motorcycle today would be a mammoth seller for them. It really would. Now, compared to other motorcycles, they tried to shoot it out in magazines. They tried to shoot it out against other 80s technology motorcycles, and that was really, really unfair. And the price was high. It was a Harley Davidson. It didn't cater to the Harley Davidson leather pants and conchos group. It was a weird thing. But among
I can imagine shooting that thing out against a hurricane.
right, well, I mean, 1980,
No.
right? So
Yeah.
1980, it would have been shot out against some big Hondas, you know, like
Yeah.
the CB 1000 10-speed. It would have been shot out against a lot of different bikes. But the interesting thing about that is today that motorcycle is so prized among collectors. It is absolutely sought after. It was an AMF Harley. It wasn't oil tight. It wasn't the best built machine in the world. But it was totally unique, and it was 100% special. And it is a Harley Davidson that today, if I had one in my collection, I'd be so happy that
And
I
they're
bought it.
worth a lot of money.
Yes, they
probably more than they were worth when they were new.
Any failed endeavor is always worth money. Edsel's.
It's the Edsel, yeah.
It's the Edsel motorcycle world. So there's nothing wrong with that. But as a whole, I still stand by the statement. It is an American-built motorcycle. I own a Buell. I love my Buell. That's an American-built motorcycle with a Harley-Davidson engine. I think that the Buell, when people are like, well, yeah, but it's this and it's that, I'm like, dude, the Buell is the best motorcycle in the world at being a Buell. It does it better than any other bike out there.
The fact of the matter is, it's probably more American-made than the
Yeah.
than the Harleys they were
I'll give you
building
that.
at the
Yeah,
time.
I'll give you that. Yeah,
It
Eric
was
Stein-
actually made here, engineered here, and
Yeah.
parts probably sourced here.
Sure. And it is extremely good at doing its job of being what it is. And I
Yeah.
feel the exact same way about Harley Davidson baggers. I feel the same way about FLH police bikes. They are a certain part of American history that we have to take care of. And I'm all for it. Harley Davidson. If Harley Davidson can stay air cooled, and if they can stay the V-twin the way they are, and if the EPA and NHTSA doesn't force them to change a lot of the wonderful things about their design, as archaic as they are, I think that's great.
Hey, Dustin, that's a great segue for you to tell us about your trip in May.
Oh yeah.
Another
it's
another
not
great
my trip.
Another great and very big word for Chris, segue.
Segue.
But you mean that means transition, Dustin, to another conversation.
Oh, I thought it meant he rode one over here.
Segway.
You're throwing around all
He
kinds.
has one.
What other words are on that list that you have that you're going to say all of them tonight on the podcast?
Erudite.
It's not pronounced Segway. It's pronounced Soge.
So talk about the trip in May.
Yeah.
Well, it's not my trip. It's a motorcycle forum. Then actually,
if you're listening to this podcast, you goddamn well better know what Do the Ton Forum is, okay? And if you
yeah.
don't,
Well,
I'm schooling you
myself,
And you better know what
Mark, and
segue
Phil,
means
we're
and
all members of
cachet.
the forum.
Yeah.
And erudite.
And they have
Three words for the next podcast we're going to test on that.
throughout that forum, we plan some get-togethers throughout the year. And it's kind of whoever can make it makes it, because this is a international forum, so obviously our members from Australia cannot make it.
Well, the last one of these that I attended in Tennessee was ostentatious. I mean, the people that were there were. See, I'm doing this just for the people that were there had a great time. We rode some amazing roads. We camped out. We drank beers.
We were down at the Dragon.
We played with fireworks. It was everything you wanted in a Tennessee Smoky Mountains motorcycle riding weekend. It was great.
And where's it at this year?
This year it is at Red River Gorge.
Red River Gorge.
Yep. Good, which is nice because it's closer than the Dragon for us. It's about 3 hours closer for us. So that's
how far from Rocky Top?
What's that?
How far from Rocky Top? Yeah.
I have no fucking idea.
Probably.
I don't fucking know.
It's probably 3 hours either way.
Yeah. It's
about the middle.
Great riding, great roads, fantastic. Now, what's the date they're doing it?
It's the weekend of May 20th.
Okay. All right.
And they're filling up the cabin right now. They rented a couple of cabins.
Yeah.
It's getting filled up.
Oh, that's gonna smell good in there.
Yeah. I mean, I have a feeling I'm going to be sleeping.
I'm gonna take my chances in the tent with
I
you.
will be sleeping in a tent,
or do you want the hostel,
or on the
where's
on the floor somewhere.
I don't imagine there's gonna be a lot of women in that cabin.
We're not screwing around.
But Chris, I heard you want to go.
Yeah, I'm going to run down there.
You want to go?
Yeah. We'll trailer down the 1973 Honda CB450.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect
With
bike
Phil
for it.
capped
Cool.
up.
Perfect bike for
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Perfect bike for that road.
They posted the run recently. The ride they have going on, it looks really nice.
Yeah. The last time we did one of these trips, Dustin and I, he was on his 350 twin. I was on my 400 4-cylinder.
And Shane was on his 350 twin.
Right. And just through sheer courage and stupidity, we left every other high displacement motorcycle in the dust behind us, because being light and agile in these kind of roads is way more important than having 100 horsepower.
But it's still 30 miles an hour.
Well, yeah, 30, 35, 40 miles an hour. We will not exceed 75 or 80 in the whole weekend. No, there were a couple of times we were blowing that.
So I could bring my buddy down there then.
Yeah, bring your buddy down. In fact,
scooter.
We've got
Dustin
that.
ran a
We've
buddy
done
the
that
one
road
year.
on
Yeah, I
buddies
rode the buddy.
before.
Dustin ran the
I rode the
Dragon
buddy
on
on
a
the
buddy.
Dragon.
I embarrassed a load of dudes on 600 crotch rockets on a buddy on that road.
You didn't get beaten up?
I destroyed
You'd have to catch it first.
a couple of guys on 1200 cc BMWs on the Dragon.
Small wheels and RPMs that never drop
passed
are
them.
like secret weapon on these roads. Lightweight, high corner speeds. It's way better than high horsepower in this environment.
Yeah, you're
it's
never going that
big
fast.
fun.
You got too many turns.
So,
Thanks, Coach.
Gotcha.
I got something for you.
What you got?
I got something good.
What you got, boss?
Okay, how many minutes have we gone?
Well, we are at about 52.
We got to burn one and come back for a quickie after the break.
We got no break, dude. We're getting
You're going to run
here.
straight through?
Let's just go straight
Okay,
through.
let's run straight through.
We got a few minutes left.
Okay,
All right.
then this is perfect for this story. This is a news item, and I wish to fucking God it wasn't a news item. On these podcasts before, we've talked about electric motorcycles.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about they're really. I mean, these companies, Zero, Bramo. There's a lot of companies that are really trying to build electric-powered motorcycles for use on the street. When you talk about the Vectrix motor scooter that came out, that thing did 70 miles an hour, cost $12,000, and the batteries were like $3,000. They all have reasons. They have reasons that you don't want to buy them. If you run out of electricity, you can't have somebody bring you a gallon of electricity. When you're out of gas, you're out of gas, and you're parked wherever you're parked and hope you got an extension cord.
I mean, any day of the week, an electric motor will destroy a gasoline motor.
I've ridden a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I found the acceleration was as good as the guy who programmed the power controller board.
Exactly.
Usually, the acceleration is less than that of a Buddy 125. A Buddy 125 can spank most of them off the line. But I got to say that a Buddy 125 is actually quite a quick vehicle compared to a lot of other things.
Well, I should say in theory,
Right.
an electric motor,
Well, unrestricted.
an unrestricted
any of these
electric
motors
motor
can
will
kill you.
destroy a gasoline motor any day of the week.
It's all
It'll
about how
just
they're
kill it.
programming the power delivery to protect you. Because if you
Yeah,
take
to
those,
protect you from doing a wheelie that
killing
fires your bike
yourself,
away
yeah.
from you.
exactly, and also
Unbridled horsepower.
Exactly.
we're trading off acceleration, for duration of the battery, and heat, and all those things. So we had to make the thing survivable. We got to make the thing reliable. We got to make it last long enough to get you to work and back. Right.
Well, there's this orchestral piece to the noise from a gasoline engine that electrics just can't give you.
Did you read the story I'm about to relate to you? You are a fucking savant.
That's why I made that comment, just as a nice segue, using Chris's word, into this next comment that you're going to have.
Christ.
So why don't you go into that?
I'm going to go into it.
Good.
So I have this one at the shop, and I work on it. I replace the motor for it.
That's a big word.
And I take the bike out and ride it, and I ride the bike and I bring it back. And aside from my concerns about the handling, aside from my concerns about the weight, the brakes, the overall, it just didn't feel what I wanted the bike to feel.
The overall safety.
Well, you know, some people say it feels like having sex with a cadaver. Okay? There's different things about electric motorcycles.
Ray, would you like to chime in on that?
Comment on that. Right. No, the real doll's as close as we've ever gotten. So, the issue, the one thing I found really interesting about every electric motorcycle I've ever ridden, or scooter, is the fucking silence. They're damn quiet.
Yeah.
And so you're riding through the metro parks 35, 45, 50 miles an hour, and you're quiet. You're dead silent. There's something really kind of cool about that. I know it's weird.
Hemingway wouldn't like that. There's a romance to the sound.
Yes,
There's a romance to the sound.
Song of
and
the sausage creature. Hunter S.
it's
Thompson
lost.
said that having the noise is part of the experience, and that's why none of my motorcycles have stock exhausts on them. I want to hear the shit that's happening in my motor. But on the electrics,
so to speak.
Right, yeah. There goes a valve. That's a lot of troubleshooting, actually. Being able to hear what's happening inside of there.
That was a very good valve.
It's like, shit, I don't want to hear that.
That was
Damn
expensive. That was the most expensive sound I heard all day.
Yeah.
But there's something weird about being on a magic carpet going 45, 50 miles an hour, and the only sound is the wind passing your head.
Well, you know that's why in Europe they have pizza delivery scooters that are electric.
Yep.
And they outfitted them with sound boxes. So while the pizza delivery guy is going down the road, it's like, pizza, get your pizza.
Okay.
And it's like basically an advertisement.
Yep.
Because the people complain that, like, we can't hear the pizza scooter when it's
Well, my friend,
going around.
I've got a scary look into the future for you.
Oh, boy.
The NHTSA, the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, has decided that electric vehicles, automobiles, and motorcycles are far too dangerous to the civilian population who's on foot. We like to call them Fußgängers. Far too dangerous to those people. And that now all of our electric silent vehicles will have to be equipped with a noise-emitting device.
Can you get extra loud ones? Okay. I want mine to sound really cool.
So you know that right off the bat, the tuner world is going to jump all over this shit. Second of all, it's
I now have a new career as an audio engineer.
Yeah.
okay.
You're gonna hack
I
them
can now create like new sounds for people's electric vehicles.
You've got your podcast device. You're listening to your thumb-powered information system. Right now, type in Google, go to NHTSA, go into sound, go into electric vehicle. That will be enough information to get you to the link, and you can listen to the 14 different proposed waveforms or wave files of what they want your bikes to sound like. So yes, you are about to relinquish one of the only advantages to riding an electric vehicle, which is the ability to sneak up on livestock and wild animals and children in the park after dark. So yeah, they're making them make noises. Now, fuck that. If we're going to make them make noises, and they're going to be these sterile boop, 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 boop noises that they say are right for the vehicle, I want mine to sound like the fucking Jetsons vehicle.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I want when I go by on I go by on the electric vehicle that I am going to be forced to own in 2025, when I have to turn in my internal combustion powered, dinosaur spewing shit. I want my vehicle to sound like what I want it to sound like. But yeah, all of you tree hugging, gas fearing electrophiles are going to have to ride a vehicle that sounds more goddamn Camaro than the most fuel-efficient hybrid on the planet. Yeah. Take away the sound of the internal combustion engine and replace it with awful. So electric vehicles are going to have to make noise by law. decibels. They've been fighting over decibels being too high
Lowering them,
for fucking 90 years.
Well,
and now they're going to create...
In the same vein,
too
though,
quiet now.
At some point, they're going to say, well, you're going to have to put this in there, and this is going to put out parts per million of pollution.
Well, the funny thing is, your battery, the thing that's supposed to get you home at night, is being wasted, creating an audible tone so that asshole drunks don't walk out in front of you. Yeah.
Or blind and deaf people.
Or blind and deaf people don't walk out in front of you. Exactly, right. Now, my thing is, the average internal combustion engine that's out in the world right now, the car, ain't that loud. I mean, they're fucking quiet, man.
Yeah.
If you ever walked up to a Lincoln Town car,
you can't hear it.
You can't hear it.
No.
That thing will clip you without you knowing it.
Right.
They're quiet. Mufflers and
Those
resonators.
stupid pipes that they make us put on them.
Well, but the point is the same. Quiet is quiet.
Right.
So the fact that you're going to have your mom's electric car sitting there going beep, 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 or dad's town car going purr.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. All of a sudden, the electric car just became way more Camaro.
Yeah, way more annoying.
Yeah, way more. And by Camaro, we mean a word that you use in place of other words that some people take offense of when you use them. And they write bad letters to the podcast. Yeah, so that's the game. So we're electric vehicles and making noises. So
you're not going to find George Clooney in Italy.
Yeah.
Riding a motorcycle that's electric. You got, or Hemingway in his day. The girls with the lime green stretch pants with Sturpsing and Volare in Italy, they want to be on a gasoline engine motorcycle that makes a noise.
Shortest skirts I've
it's
ever seen
a
in my
romance
life.
about it.
Italy, without a doubt. Crazy. The part of the deal is we got to
the tune Volare on the ukulele there? Can you
play a little Dean Martin?
I don't know, Volare.
It was a Chrysler product, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And it was a failure.
Rich Corinthian leather.
Look what they've done to my Cordoba.
Look at my Cordoba. What have they done?
Corinthian
Rich Corinthian leather. You know that's one of those things where it's just the kids don't get it. They don't know how to dial a phone, and they don't understand
get
Ricardo
nothing.
Montalban.
They get nothing.
They got nothing. They just got the world's most interesting man. That's all they got. So anyway, with
the
that,
world's most interesting man would not be riding an electric
no, he wouldn't.
motorcycle.
You're right. He wouldn't. And
Kill
there's
himself
nothing
first.
cool about it. There's zero cool factor. If you want a Triumph and you think Triumphs are cool and they attract you and they make you fucking feel good about yourself, buy a kick-ass cool Triumph. Don't buy a W650 that pretends to be a Triumph. Don't buy an XS650 that pretends to be a Triumph. Buy a kick-ass cool Triumph. Find one that turns you on and buy that fucker. Because we go around one time. Chris bought a ridiculous motorcycle that I recommended to him.
Oh, stop.
And I love that bike. He bought a drifter, a Kawasaki drifter. That doesn't fit into a category.
Yeah.
That motorcycle is, you know what category it's in? Drifter.
Yeah. It's a species,
That's Chris.
Species all its own.
It's a species all
Mr.
its own.
Segway.
But you know what? I fucking love riding it. That motorcycle is goddamn cool.
And it fits a niche.
It fits fantastically. It
What
performs
niche?
great.
His niche.
Drifter. It's a drifter. You know what kind of motorcycle it is? It's a drifter.
Yeah.
Oh, is it a Kawasaki 800? No, it's a fucking drifter. Yeah, they made two, a big one and a little one. The little one's better. But yeah, not shitting you. It's a drifter. And even guys that used to own Indians, which the drifter is a tribute to, still go, damn, that's a good looking motorcycle. Because whether it's from 1939 or 2000 and whatever,
It looks the same.
it's a goddamn good looking vehicle. It's a piece of art that you can ride to work.
It's
Yeah.
like the Enfields.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome, man. All right, guys. So I can't thank you enough again for listening. Of course, the end of the podcast, we always ask for two things. We always ask for big fat checks, and no, we don't. We ask for good. Just give us some reviews on iTunes. That's the best possible way to get in touch with us. Remember, you can go to ClevelandMoto /Facebook or Facebook /ClevelandMoto.
Facebook, what?
Does that even exist? Yeah. We're there.
Slow down. Let's get it right here.
www.clevelandmoto.blogspot.com.
There you go.
And you can post directly to our RSS feed. You can post right there where God and everybody can read your comments. You know what? And somebody posted something up the other day. They sent me an email.
Don't say things about God.
Yeah,
please.
right. He didn't get me here tonight. So
Yeah.
they posted
He's not
up.
getting you home either.
The guy said, he goes, you're not telling people everything that people, write about. Oh, yeah, we are. Yeah, it's We're letting you know. If you write into us, we're going to say something about it. A couple of guys bought the T-shirts, which I thought was hilarious.
Did you like that?
Yeah, they're buying T-shirts. Go
Yeah,
figure,
no,
man. That's hilarious.
They hit me up through Do the Tones.
Yeah, I know.
It's fun.
It's wild.
You, pal.
Who thought anybody would buy those T-shirts? But people are buying them like crazy, so that's
Dude
cool.
hit me up through Do the Tone. He's like, I want one
So
of
what we're
those
doing is we're doing
shirts.
$15 for the T-shirts, 2 for $20, and we're paying for the shipping. So it's not going to
And
cost you
where do
anything.
they? All right, this was his thing. He's like, I listened to your podcast.
Yeah.
I checked everything out. I don't know where to buy a shirt. How do I buy a shirt?
ClevelandMoto.gmail.com or ClevelandMoto@gmail.com. Email me.
No, what's a website?
Oh, you can go to ClevelandMoto.com.
A store.
Or
ClevelandMoto.com.
Pride of Cleveland Scooters.
Right. Go to
But is there a
www.cleveland.com.
store
Yeah.
location there where they can look at those shirts and click and buy?
Well, no, we don't believe in that internet nonsense, being able to click and buy something, because that's how the Nigerians got all my money last time.
Okay.
You know,
So,
Nigerians.
I'm sorry that y'all are fucking lazy, but you can pick up the phone and call me and talk to me and hear these dulcet tones over your phone.
Well,
Do you have
there
a store?
go.
Do you have a store?
There's a store.
Where's the store? What's the
There's
address?
a store in Mentor and there's a store in Lakewood. Now, if you need to come into the store, all you have to do is go to www, stands for World Wide Web to the young kids, worldwideweb dot.
Now, the young kids don't.
They know
Was that
that?
created
They
by
have no
Al
idea what
Gore?
that means.
Was the web created by Al Gore? What was that
The
about?
important parts. Just the porn. The
Good stuff.
Al Gore brought the porn.
www.clevelandmoto.com. That's what you're listening to. And if you go to that, there'll be a link on there to get a T-shirt. I'm going to make sure there's one there tomorrow morning that even an idiot could use. For people that are having trouble looking and seeing there's a phone number and calling it, we'll make sure that it make it real easy to get some T-shirts. But it was great. The one guy is in Maine. Mm-hmm. He's in Maine, and he says, come to my house, sleep on my floor, drink my beer, and ride the roads with me.
I'll do
I'm
it.
there.
That's a damn good offer.
on.
I'm there.
That is a
Come on.
damn good offer.
He's going to
there.
be pissed when
And-
14 of us show up.
Yeah, I sent him 2 shirts, and I'm like, yeah.
When
Yeah.
does he want me in Maine?
serial killer.
I will go. I'll bring the
Pay no mind, he has a French accent. He's awesome.
Really serial killer.
I'll bring the
What
R2
kind of
unit,
cereal?
and he could do a
Cocoa
podcast.
Krispies. I love Cocoa Krispies.
But seriously, that was
you get chocolate milk after you.
that was so cool. I mean, I was like the guys from Maine.
You
He wants
never
us to come
met
and ride
any
with
one
him.
of us.
Never met one of us. Invited us to stay at his house.
Right.
That is
He'll regret
the coolest,
having me at his house, but
Man,
I'll stay
oh.
there.
Yeah,
I
that'd
don't
be the
care.
best stories he could ever tell.
That's the coolest thing ever. So yeah,
Bunch
we
of
love
shit
that.
missing.
So remember, please leave us a review. I don't
Bunch
care
of
if you liked
shit
it or hated
pissed
it.
on.
Right. God. Yeah, way to go. Way to go.
Pooped
Yeah.
in the hamper.
Yeah.
Mr. Maine.
It just got Lord of the Flies in
You've met
here.
your
It really
match.
did.
Well, let's
Yeah.
do a 2-hour show.
Oh no way, man! They bitch about a 1 hour show right now.
We couldn't handle that.
Yeah, no, they can't handle it. So remember, as always, what do we always say? Drive fast and take chances.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, we'll see you guys next week.
Good night, folks.
Thank you for listening to Cleveland Moto. If you have comments or topic suggestions, you can leave them at our blog at www.clevelandmoto.blogspot.com or visit our website at www.clevelandmoto.com.